Greetings Railway family, my name is Kenny and I work as a Network Rules Specialist for the Network Rules Unit Sydney Trains. So today we're going to be talking about absolute signal blocking, or ASB, specifically about how we nominate a worksite location in a complex area. Now when we look at the rule, it says if the nominated worksite location is on more than one line, the protection officer must define the nominated worksite location separately for each line. Signals used to define the nominated worksite location must be associated with the specific lines and identified by their numbers. Okay, so let's clarify a sticking point here that comes up, is that the term associated here means a signal that is either on the specific line or a signal that provides entry to the specific line. So let's go back to our training material. Alright, so looking at signal alpha here, it's associated with the main line because it's on the line, but it's also associated with the storage siding because it provides immediate access to that line. So a protection officer would nominate this worksite location as being on the main line from signal alpha to signal Charlie, and on the storage siding from signal alpha to the end of terminal line. So let's start with a situation where it's not an end of terminal line and replace it with a signal, and it's exactly the same thing. So protection officer would nominate this worksite location as being on the main line from signal alpha to signal Charlie, and on the relief line from signal alpha to signal Foxtrot. Okay, let's look at a live example provided to us by our friends at Sydney Yard and CBD Network Base. So here's an example at Redfern. Alright, so for those who are familiar with driver route knowledge diagrams, we've simplified this area here into our diagram over here. So let's say we have some points maintenance on 655 points. The protection officer would identify this worksite location as being on the up Illawarra dive from Sierra Yankee 462 Victor signal to Sierra Yankee 468 Uniform Victor signal, and on the down Illawarra dive from Sierra Yankee 471 Victor signal to Sierra Yankee 462 Victor signal. And for all our signalers and area controllers watching this, I just want to point out that these red boxes are just simply there to mark a signal that the PO is using, not necessarily what you might put blocks on. And speaking about our signalers and area controllers, this is what the worksite would look like using those identifiers on the Atrix panel. Okay, so let's look at another complicated location, this time on the city side of Redfern heading towards Central. Here's the driver's route knowledge diagram, and here's the simplified representation that we'll use to demonstrate. Okay, so let's look at some points inspections, this time on 264 points. Very similar to our previous scenario, except the added complication is the additional line running down the middle of the worksite. Because we have to specify for each line, right, the way a protection officer will identify this worksite location is to say that the worksite is on the up main from Sierra Yankee 126 Mike signal to Sierra Yankee 122 signal, on the down main from a 124 signal to a 116 signal, and on the up steam suburban from Sierra Yankee 123 signal to Sierra Yankee 126 signal. And this is what it looks like on the Atrix panel for all our area controllers and signalers. Alright, and let's look at another complicated location, this time at 265 points. This time it crosses over the other set of points here. It's 641. Right, so that means that we're going to have to nominate for each line that's available there. So the way the protection officer would nominate this worksite location is to call out the worksite being on the down main from 124 signal to 116 signal as done previously. On the down steam suburban from 120 signal to 124 signal. Right, and on the up steam suburban from Sierra Yankee 123 signal to 434 signal. Now, Unfortunately, because we have to nominate the worksite location this way, it does mean that the ASB would have to be suspended to allow any rail traffic movements going on the up suburban straight through towards central. Okay, another issue that comes up a lot is how ASB interacts with NSG 616 precautions during signaling equipment testing, where, let's say in this example here, we have an LPA that's denoted by the green lines, right? And we have 641 and 643 points clipped and locked to prevent any rail traffic entry into the LPA. Okay, so looking at NSG 616, so what it says here is that points that are clipped and locked to protect a work on track authority may be unclipped for inspection or testing only if, and we've got those situations here, but this is what's relevant to us, absolute signal blocking or work on track authority is in place to prevent rail traffic approaching the points while they are unclipped. Now we also know that if you nominate a worksite location inside the LPA, right, we can't do that because you can't have an ASB inside a work on track authority. It can be a bit confusing on how all of that interacts with each other, but the way you're supposed to do it is not to nominate the where you are as being the points you're trying to unclip, but NSG 616 says you are to put the ASB in such a way that prevents rail traffic approaching the points while they're unclipped. So it's very similar to how we nominate a worksite location for adjacent line protection on the adjacent line. All right. So in this instance here for 643, what we want to nominate is an ASB that's pretty much going to be on the downstream stub for looking like that. Okay, so the way a protection officer would nominate that worksite location is to call out on the downstream suburban from 120 signal to a 114 signal. All right, because an ASB that's been placed there will prevent rail traffic entering the LPA and also approaching the points while they're unclipped. Now I understand for a lot of POs that could be a bit of a head scratcher because you're not calling out a worksite that where you're physically at, but the best way to think about this is how you would nominate a worksite for adjacent line protection on the adjacent line. Okay, so that's the official network rules determination for these ASB issues. But always happy to hear your thoughts, so shoot me an email at this address or send something through to the NRU inbox for feedback. Just want to give a big thanks to our friends at CBD Network Base and the area controllers at Homebush Complex for raising the issue. Another thank you to the CBD or Rail Safety Coach for facilitating the issue, and another big thank you to MSO Carissa Costi for helping me gather the information and put together this video. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, Railway fam, stay safe out there. This is Kenny, signing out.